Hello, students. Today we're going to look at making keychains again, except for this time, we're going to do it with a logo. Dun, dun, dun. So, first of all, well, it doesn't have to be a logo. Specifically, we're looking for something that's black and white. So, you can see I did a quick search on here with Pixabay just to get some examples on here, and some are more exciting than others. Say you're a Pirates fan and you really want to show your pirate love. I don't know. Or maybe you're like Thundercats forever. There's all sorts of really fun things that you could find depending on what you're looking for. I'm just curious. Let's look up for anime. Look, anime characters. Now, here's the thing how this functionally works. You need something that is black and white only. And you can see I've already got this filter on here. If I turn it off and turn it back on here, you can see things look very different. Now, you could try to reduce them to black and white, but that's a whole lot of extra work and, quite frankly, probably a little bit outside of what you want to do here. So that's why I'm going to make sure I've got black and white enabled and applied. Now, stuff like this may work just because you could sort of see the dots in here, but this is a really complex picture in here, and that probably means that you're going to have some issues. Same with this one. Anytime you see these grayscale areas, that probably means you're going to have some issues translating it into an SVG file. SVG means shareable vector graphic, which basically means that once it's in there, you can make it as big or as small as you need to be. Something like this actually might work. Usually, there's a couple ways to do this. You could drag in the picture onto your desktop, but you might see something like this where it says WEPB, and that format is not compatible with what we're doing. We're looking for hopefully a PNG or a JPEG. Oh my, it actually has a vector graphic in here. For now, I'm going to start with this first one here, and I'm going to download it. I'm not going to download today. Sorry, guys. I'm going to check my downloads folder. And you can see PNG cat, space cat here already. And I know this one's going to work because it says .png or like this one. I thought I did have one that said JPEG. The next step, I am going to go to the link in the Google Classroom to onlineconvert.com. Uh-oh. The thing I'm looking for is no longer available. That's okay. We've got a new one. So I'm going to go to this online image converter. I'm going to choose the first format, image, and I want a PNG. Second one to an .svg. And again, that is our scalable vector graphic. Okay, now it's as simple as dragging the picture I want, again, making sure that it says PNG into the space. Give it a second. Dun, 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 dun. Oops, what's this going on? Let's try this again. Start. Magic. So now I've got a couple of options here. I could upload it to my cloud, theoretically to my Google Drive account, download it as is, or if it's really big, you can download it as a zip file. I'm just going to download. And now I can see cat SVG in here. So now for the next part here. We want to import this into the demonstration. So I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to go to downloads, and I want to find that picture. Where did I move it? Okay, let's try this again. Cancel, choose file. I'm just going to drag it in here. Now you'll notice you get in this case, because it was such the original file was so large, it's actually pretty big. So I'm going to shrink this down to about 200 and then hit tab. It says about 200 by 200. Import. And you'll see what this actually looks like inside of your work plane. And my work plane, and I think, yep, we've got this little importing sign on here. So because this is being processed and uploaded by another computer somewhere else, this could take a while. Sometimes it might be a real long time, but you just have to be a little bit patient. Hopefully everything will work out. Oh, there we go. Now you can see I've got the basics of my Space Cat. Now this is still pretty big. It's actually bigger than the print surface of my printer here. So I'm going to shrink this down. If you're in class, you would notice I'm holding down the Shift key in order to make sure it stays the same proportions. Otherwise, it could end up with something like this, which, hey, maybe you like it, but for this, I don't want it. Now, the next part. So I've got my basic import into here. Now I want to make a structure like this. All right, now I'm just going to take a quick look at my environment here. So far we've saved our black and white image to our computer. We've used our online convert. This says JPG. We've got online convert JPEG to SVG, but in my case, I used a PNG. Converted the image, I saved it back to my computer, and now I've imported it into Tinkercad. Now, here's the part that I want you to be aware of. I want you to try to keep this in, let's say, 3 millimeters by 20 by 20 millimeters. So that means it's going to be relatively small, but that would still be big enough that you could see the cat. And so if we look at these pre-built ones that I've got here, you can see they're 20 by 20, and then I got these little doodads to hang it off something on top. So we're going to do something similar on here. I'm going to grab my box, and it's already 20 by 20, which is great, but the height needs to be adjusted, so I'm going to bring this down to, let's call it 2. Now, the next part, if you've already got to this point, you've halfway there. So I'm just going to shrink this down some more. And basically, I want to make sure, my robot is going to come through the top here. And I want to fit it inside of the square space. Of course, it doesn't have to be square. I could also use circle if I want, or medallion. Yeah, let's do that for fun. Bezels, no, bevels, sides, lots of sides. More sides, the smoother the finished product is. All right, so same idea here. We're going to shrink it down so it's about 3 millimeters. Let's call it 2 millimeters high. Put our Space Cat, in the center. Now, you can see in the examples that I've got over here, I also did a little bit of minor decoration. I added these little triangular edges here just to give it a little bit of a edge. You might also decide that you want to do something like that with this. In this case, I'm going to look for the ring tool. And you can see you've got a couple of choices, including the outside radius, how big it is, how much of a tube, how many sides, which again will determine how much. Oh, look at this! How many steps? That's how many things make up this shape. All right, I'm going to surround it like this. Take a look on the other side just to make sure everything's on and touching. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Make the tube smaller. Let's make this 1. And I'm going to make sure the size is proper. So I'm going to call this 21 by 21. Let's see what that does. So basically, I just want to make it a little bit bigger than the outside edges. Yeah, that's a bit too small. Let's change Actually, let's shrink this inside part. Let's call this 17 by 17. And I'm just hitting the tab button to go to the next one here. It's a little bit small. 18. And we're just going to spend a bit of time trying to center this. It's not too bad looking. Maybe a bit bigger tube. Not that big. If you're finding that it's snapping for too large of an area, we can change the setting. And then it will move in smaller increments. Or you can just type in the number over here. So let's go 1.5. And I'm going to use my arrow keys to try to center this as best I can. So this is probably about as good as I'm going to get it. I don't want to play with this part forever. Now for the next part, if this is a keychain or a medallion or even an earring, you'll want to figure out a way to attach it to so that when you print it or when it becomes real, you'll have a way to attach it to something. So I'm going to use this block here. And I'm going to put it at 90 degrees, shrink it down a little bit. I'm actually going to rotate this way. Again, you could use shift to constrain your proportion so it doesn't start getting really weird and warped if that's an issue. And the reason why I'm adding this is just because I know, having made these in the past, if I don't put some sort of structure up here, there's a very good possibility that my medallion is going to be lacking strength. So I'm going to shrink it to look something like this on this side. And this is just going to add a little bit more support and help keep everything together. This time I'm going to use this circle. You can play with the settings, see what they do. I think the one that I'm looking for is, no, not that one. Number of sides. But basically, I want to attach it something like this. And then shrink it down. Yeah. Because basically, depending on where you're going to put the final product, either off of your keychain or maybe your ears, I don't know. You want to make sure that it's going to be thick enough to hold your device. And there we go. This is pretty much something I would be ready to print with. Is it perfect? No. But you can see how using a couple of fairly simple techniques, you can get some pretty cool results, especially if you're a fan of, well, pretty much anything with a logo. Now, the final step, going to group it. Make sure it's all the same color. Looks like it's still processing. There we go. Now, the last step, if you're me, I'm going to click out of here. I'm going to click on this and download an STL. And this is what I'm going to be attaching to the file on your Google Classroom. All right, that's generally the process. Hopefully everything went fairly smoothly.